Hello BookTube, it's Ros and
Steve.
And we're here because we're participating in Faulkner in August 2020. And this is hosted by Brian of Bookish and Alan of Big Hard Books and Classics, joined this year by Union Crypto from CodeX Cantina. And this time last year we read, it's the one with August in the title.
Yes, that one.
Light in August.
That's
Light in August by Faulkner. And that was one of the moments when I realised that BookTube could be a place to really get in deep with particular books, which I really enjoyed and appreciated. So I was looking forward to it coming back around again, and knew I'd be in on it. And you joined in last year. Yeah,
with the Light in August. I wasn't planning to this year until yesterday when Ros said that she wanted me to. So I read the section yesterday. So that was fun.
So we've got 4 weeks, and kind of like it's a 4-part book, which is handy. So it's 1 part per week all the way through August, and for both of us, it's the first time that we've read The Sound and the Fury, and The Sound and the Fury has a bit of a reputation, doesn't it? I believe.
So I understand. Yes.
You understand that too?
I
Yes.
understand that too.
Well, we've heard. Yes.
Well, it's part of that modernist movement, isn't it? In the sort of 20s and 30s that was going on, where there was it seems there was a real sense of doing something different with writing, and there seems to be like a cross-referencing of ideas between America and Europe. So you've got Proust, you've got Joyce, you've got Woolf, you've got Faulkner, and obviously other people as well. But they all seem to be spurring each other on.
Yes, and sometimes being quite rude about each other.
Yeah.
And but specifically, The Sound and the Fury is one of Faulkner's kind of like supposedly difficult books. Whereas others, perhaps there's a mix of the difficult ones and the more straightforward ones. Did we find the first section difficult? Is that how you'd characterise it?
I mean, it takes some concentration. I think it's a writer on top of his game who's saying very much, this is what I can do. Stick with me. And I like books where it's not all laid out on a plate for you, and you have to actually engage your own brain to make the most of it. I think. I like the other kind of book as well every now and then, but it really it's something that really engages me. Sort of thinking, hang on, what's this? Oh, how does this connect?
What's going on here?
That's a bit of symbolism there, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like you get to contribute as the reader, because you have to pay attention, and it's like it's not all laid out for you. You've got to piece it together. I mean, it is all laid out for you, because actually when you sort of finish a section and look back, you realise actually that was really carefully planned.
Yeah, and it's like there are clues and there are things and it's rewarding as a reader. I find, because it makes me feel very clever when I can sort of.
Well, you like to feel clever.
I like to feel clever.
Don't we all? I noticed that. I spotted that. I can fit this together.
Yeah.
So the first section is Benji's section, and Benji is a young man with learning disability who's non-verbal, and so that was fascinating to me, because that's kind of like my area of work. So to have an author write a prolonged section of a book attempting to look at the world through the eyes of someone with that level of learning disability was, I thought, brave and interesting and successful, but I'm not sure if it's realistic. You know what I mean?
I think that's fair enough, because it's subjective, and you're not going to be able to know what it's like for Benji or people like Benji in those circumstances. Whether he understands language to a certain extent, but whether he uses language to process his own thinking is
yes. I mean, what is great is that he's a really good observer, and he's almost not. He's not taken account of because of his learning disability. So he sees and hears things, and people assume that he doesn't. I suppose, like there's at one point someone says, "Oh, he's deaf and dumb." Well, he's not. He's neither of those things. Well, he's non-verbal, but but yes, inevitably it's written in quite sophisticated language that you do think, oh well, maybe that wouldn't, maybe that. But it kind of doesn't matter because he's a device as well, isn't he? He's a real character, but he's also a device because he's almost like the video camera filming what is going on in this family, this strange, interesting family.
Except it's a video camera that jump cuts, that it's prompted by words or memories or smells or sounds or whatever, and then suddenly which will prompt Benji to have another memory. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because going back on what I've just said, it's quite clear that he understands some things because he responds to them. So he understands that Caddie represents, the word Caddie represents his sister who he loves.
Yes. He follows these golfers around because they use the word Caddie, and it reminds him of his sister.
And when she says, when there is talk about her leaving, he moans and groans. So he understands the concept of leaving to a certain extent.
No, that's true. It's three time periods. You eventually work out that it's 3 time periods, and the sort of present day, I guess, is he's age 33, and then we have him as a small child and him in his teens, and all these characters come and go, and it takes a while to work out who's the family, who are the sort of like the black servants. It was interesting that, and I don't know about you, but initially I struggled to work out kind of who was white and part of the family and who was black, and then it sort of gradually and a servant. But one of CodeX Cantina, either or Crypto, said, well, of course Benji doesn't think in those terms.
No, he doesn't. No.
Which is true. So that's almost like
maybe that'll become. Well, I mean, it's clear eventually, isn't it?
Obviously it becomes clear because there's always someone who's looking after him.
And the family, who, then it's also quite clear that the family's fortunes change over the period of time that we're talking about, and Benji's recollections or his memories show the family in different sorts of stages of decline. I think.
And that's very Faulkner, isn't it? Because there's this sort of feeling of portents of decay and decline and change and there all the way through, that you kind of you pick up on, whilst having these really vivid characters. Like I loved little Jason who's saying, I'm going to tell on you all the time, and you can just picture him, he's
walking around with his hands in his pockets as well.
Yes,
was it one of them said about keeping hold of his money or something? Which I think is a significant thing.
Yes. Is that his money or his testicles? Or both. It's bad to be both, isn't it?
I think I read somewhere that all of the male Comptons lose their balls one way or another.
All right, well, I haven't read that. Which brings us to Caddie's muddy bottom. Caddie's the Benji's sister, and she is, like, for me, the most sort of interesting and appealing character in this section. And she's a bit of a tomboy's not quite the word, is it? But bit of a free spirit.
Well, she's an appealing character because it's from Benji's perspective, and she is the only one that shows him, apart from Dilsey, and
his father. His father shows him affection, I think. His father cares about him. You see his father
I didn't pick that
treating him with care, or telling others to, unlike his mother, who's
useless. Doesn't
well, who knows her story? But we don't yet. But yes, Caddie. Yes, obviously he loves Caddie best. So but Caddie's fun because she's kind of shameless in a but also caring and so.
I got the sense from it that she was free in the way that the other characters, the male siblings, weren't, and they were all trying to impose, not intentionally in Benji's case, but certainly Quentin and Jason, the male Quentin and Jason were were trying to impose their position on her, and she had chosen it to a certain extent with Benji, but that her natural instinct was to be a lot more free in however she was going to express that.
Whether that's jumping in the water or climbing a tree or but we don't yet we in one of the time periods we see her getting married or leaving to get married, and I'm really looking forward. That's why it's good, isn't it? I'm really looking forward to finding out more about all these threads that we've been introduced to. I've had enough of them, you know, like drip fed via Benji, to now want to get the story for each of them.
It's making more sense of the narrative, isn't it?
But and I trust him that he will. Yes. I found it's the sad thing about this section is the way Benji as a small child is kind of quite well cared for and treated with affection. I mean, you know, his mother has sort of mixed feelings about him.
I don't think she doesn't care about him at all. I think there's nothing. There's no evidence that she comes in and she tries to do something, she makes it worse.
Yes, but then, you know, like knowing how tough it is to be the parent of someone with those needs, and how kind of conflicted you might feel. She's a bad, you know, she's not a good mother, she's not a loving mother, and seems like kind of hypochondriac and quite a selfish woman, but it's never straightforward, you know. So maybe I'm a little less.
You're projecting your own work experience.
I suppose I am. But then, and it's really frustrating for her that Caddie has the knack with him and she doesn't, and that may be because of how she treated him when he was a baby. But you know, here he is quite even when she tries, she fails, and then if you fail, you're tempted to give up, aren't you? And
I'm wondering if there is a thing, because his name is changed, isn't it? So he starts off as Maury to being Benji. And Maury is, I think, her
brother,
her mother's
it's her brother.
Benji's uncle, who's having an affair with the next door neighbour. But so again, it's quite morally lax in that sense, in the morality of the era. And I'm just sort of wondering, because whether there is any hint that Benji might be a result of a union between brother and sister.
I don't think that's far-fetched.
Because there is that sort of thing that close relatives having children will sometimes have a disability.
And the father, Jason, certainly has mixed feelings, certainly towards adult Maury. So there's so much in there to get your teeth into, and that it was a really enjoyable first section. I'm itching for the next one. I'm trying to sort of not rush into it, because that's the pleasure of this sort of week by week approach. But I may have to read it this evening even. So thank you to the lovely host for making Faulkner in August happen again this year, and we might be back with a bit more next week. We'll see how we get on.
Because the temperature in the UK today has been very
do you see?
southern.
Can you see? We're kind of like 90 degrees and dripping, which is very unusual for Brighton, even in August. So it's the same temp. It was the same temperature here today as it was in Mississippi. We looked it up. Bye.
Bye.